as well for making sure and ensuring that PM Ghana runs tonight. Big thank you to you, all of you. Well, I'll be joined in the studio via a phone call with Kusi-Appiah is a security analyst. He will be speaking on, of course, the Burkina Faso Coup, which I indicated was launched on 23rd. That was a Sunday. Gunshots were heard in the close to the presidential palace or in the presidential residence, and later on we heard from the 24 military men who announced via television that they had taken over the country. Apostle, good evening and thanks for joining us tonight on PM Ghana.
Good evening, Reginald. I thought you were doing good.
I'm doing very well. How are you doing yourself?
I'm also doing great.
We thank the Lord Almighty. Now, yes, let's consider your role more of a security analyst or expert than as an apostle. Unless perhaps you want to chip in some religious aspects to some of these coups we are seeing in our neighboring countries. First off, how should we be bothered? How much should we be bothered as a nation, realizing how downward coup d'etats seem to be spreading within the West African sub-region of the continent?
Yeah, Reginald, let me say a very good evening to your cherished viewers. And let me say what has happened is as unfortunate as the word unfortunate. It is something that in this era we find ourselves, somebody say this modern days, the last thing we expect is to see governments being overthrown in this manner. But you see, we need to be bothered, as you are saying, because if you look at the way African leaders are behaving, sometimes it's very difficult. As much as we want to condemn some of these things, it's also very difficult to speak against it in the manner that we ought to. Why? Because from my eyes, they are more or less part of the whole problem. You understand? So look at, the coup, the couples of coup that we've had in these couples of years, 2 years. From looking at from Mali, Guinea, and now Burkina Faso. What are the reasons that the military did? And the question is, look at in this era, just after they overthrew the president, you see the whole nation jubilating. So that's what I always tell people. These are democracy to the people, governance for the people. So if a government is overthrown and you see the whole nation coming out to jubilate, then it will be unfair to condemn the action. Because they are in their country, they know what they are going through. As much as we don't support coup. But look, for instance, Alpha Conde issue when it came, I stated it, he first overthrew the constitution. Why? Because if you change the constitution, that gives you 2-term mandate, that you want to go for the third term, you have overthrown the constitution. So as much as I have to condemn the one who has come to overthrow you, I must also condemn you because you first overthrew the constitution. Now look at the Burkina Faso one. What's the reason they did? Now look, we have terrorists destroyed, killing both civilians and our security. The government, you need to resource as the military in order to fight the terrorists. You are not doing it. We've spoken to you on several occasions that look, we need these equipment, we need these resources in order to fight the terrorists. And you turn a blind eye and see that look, you don't even care about the people who are dying. Meanwhile, you are there for the people. So if you cannot protect the people, then you have no business being in power. You understand? You have no business being in power. Why do you spend money on unnecessary things and we need things to protect the nation, yet to try to provide it? So it's unfortunate, but we need to, it's a warning to our leaders. It's a warning. We don't wish coup for anybody. We don't wish coup for any country. But if you look at the way and manner African leaders are leading, sometimes you wonder whether when they enter into the presidency, they think they're in a different planet. You understand? You are there for the people, and you need to have the people at heart. Just this evening, I don't know whether we stand there, but in Ghana, I was just analyzing the situation that we are confronting now. When you look at our security, the military have 2 mandates. The first to bring the military because in their mind,
well, I'm also
are they doing nothing?
Also, sorry to cut you in, but I don't know how to put it, but is this a justification of the military takeover in Burkina Faso? Yes, they have problems, but the dire and negative consequences of coup d'état makes me wonder if this is ever necessary.
You're right that there's no justification for a wrongdoing, as I said, as I indicated. Coup d'etat is not something you need to support. But I come to tell you that they actually the best, all that they want now,
what does that mean?
You understand? That the one who brought the train to the house brought the house life. You cannot be changed to the train and have a house life free environment. They will come.
Right.
So that's why I'm trying to now just support the whole thing to let you know that look, as much as this is wrong, what our leaders who are doing is wrong. We need to understand from that angle. You see, it's not just a matter of we attaching one side. It's wrong. I will not support any form of coup d'etat. But it's like our leaders are also not learning from all that is happening around us. They're not learning. That is what I'm trying to put across. That there are lessons that we need to learn from this. As there's a saying that what is it? When you see that somebody's house is on fire, try to get your water. But it's like our leaders are not learning. But let us know, when we met to decide the fate of Guinea, the president was in Ghana here, right? Did he know it was going to suffer something like this? You understand? We are not learning. It pains me that it's a bad name for Africa that in this era we still have soldiers overthrowing our leaders. But can we blame them much? That's the point I'm making. Can we blame them much? Look, Kabori, look at the way you came to power. The citizenry went on demonstration. What? They ousted their president.
Yes.
Civilians rather ousted the president, not even the military. Now, you came through election, won. That should even inform you to know that if civilians in this country can take off the president, then I need to be careful and make sure I protect, because they were in pain, and out of their pain, they ousted their president. So you can come in and you don't even care. The perception that you don't even care whether your people are dying or not. You understand?
Well,
our leaders need to learn.
Well, it's sad. It's sad that we've come to this point, but sometimes one is to believe that military coups are supposed to, like you put the role of the military to protect the citizenry. The citizenry could obviously believe that the military took over to protect the citizenry. However, when you take a look at the profile of the mutiny, you realize that he has been interdicted in some other coup d'etat. Previously, he was arrested for having taken part in an attempted coup. How can such a person be trusted to handle a government that is already failing?
So you see, this also brings us to another discussion that most of this military and even some of these so-called terrorists, from some of us see, we know that some of them are fuel by some of the opposition. So sometimes when you use these people, when you are in opposition, when you come to power, as the saying goes, when you train a lion, and when you are giving, that lion kind of animal to eat, and when there's no animal, you become the animal or a food for the lion. So if this guy, as you are saying, was hindered in a coup attempt, then you come and you still having the things, you have something to do with him. You understand? Because I remember in Liberia we had similar issue that some of these things came up, but I don't know how they dealt with it. That most of the problems they had, some of the people who later became head of state or leaders there, they were part of it, they were behind it. Even in Nigeria, Boko Haram, we heard rumors that people who were just in the position by then were behind it. So that's why they could boldly say that when we come to power, we are going to deal with it. And indeed, when they came to power, we realized that it started subsiding. You understand? So sometimes some of this is a rumor though, but what the actions you take will confirm or deny it. So if this guy has to say it's true that he was in there, and you come and you still put him at that place, then things You had nothing to do with him, and you still want to have something to do with that. This same person can be a poison to you. Normally, when you are doing look at security, we deal with informers, people who come to give information to security personnel. One of the things we teach them is that the same informant for you can be an informant to us. You're a criminal. So be careful the conversation you are having. So don't just trust people because you think they are giving information. Whatever they are, it's like just having a friend. That friend, anyone who comes to you to discuss others, don't forget that person may discuss you with others.
Exactly.
It's a principle. You understand? So we need to learn lessons from this. But our leaders should stop being greedy because when they are opposition, they try to use some of these people to create insecurity in the country so that it gives them the opportunity to win power. But we need to learn. When Osama bin Laden issue came up, the first thing that came out was that you America, you are the same people who train this gentleman. So you don't need training for what? You train him to fight on your behalf, and now he has sent a gun on you. So we have a lot of examples, out there.
Well, Apostle, let's look at what role external actors like the Economic Community of West African States and the African Union have under their hoods when it comes to such incidents. We remember the incidents in Mali and the sanctions that were imposed. Many have expressed the view that these sanctions are nothing to write home about. What other options could be available for these external actors?
You see, when it comes to ECOWAS, I think the least say about them is better because it's just like a father who is not responsible for his kids and yet wants to have a say in their life. That's how ECOWAS is behaving. You see, you cannot sanction anybody when you don't play any role in their life. What sanction can you even give? That's why looking at Mali, looking at Guinea up to now. What sanction? And besides, one thing you should also know is that all the Francophone states, colonies, or those countries which were colonized by the France, they still have that kind of relationship with France. France controls them in a way. You understand? So from Burkina Faso, all those countries, they have that link. They have that allegiance. They hold allegiance to France. So most of their dealings are with France. So if you sit here and you say you're going to sanction them on what? That's why, Guinea, was bold enough to say, look, you can't determine what we do in our country. You cannot. Because we don't have anything. How many African countries even trade together? How many? You see, so it's like a total bulldog. We don't have any say. The ECOWAS actually is currently in form and in shape. Don't have anything to do. It's unfortunate. So the earlier we come together, the unity, where we can now ensure that economically we are trading together, we are helping ourselves. In that case, if you all come together and say that, look, we are going to sanction you, then we can have something to stand on. But at the time now, there's nothing we can do. So if we can now, it's just a mere formality. When it happens, they will come out and condemn it and say, okay, they should keep the president. It's like a routine thing. Nothing again. It's unfortunate.
Right. Apostle, now let's look at an incident like a sanction, like the withdrawal of representation of other countries within a country where military has taken over. Wouldn't this have dire consequences on the country? Burkina Faso, for instance, is known for its gold reserves, but you and I know that for some time now, the gold representation is not what it could be. So perhaps they could rely on something like tourism, West Africa tourism. All of these countries have taken their representation out. For Mali, couldn't this be a good sanction that could be imposed on Burkina Faso? Beg your pardon.
So you see, right now, the question is to ask yourself that even if Burkina Faso is dependent on tourism, how many African countries, how many of us in Ghana here, although we share border with them, travel to Burkina Faso for tourism? That's what I'm saying. We've not encouraged trade between us. That's unfortunate. That's why we have an issue. How many? So if you go and check, even in Ghana here, check our tourist and the attractive site, and check the number of people visit there, you see that many of them are foreigners. You understand? The same way, how many Ghanaians do we even hear that they say, oh, I'm traveling to Burkina Faso for holidays? How many times? The last time I heard about from you yourself, you went to South Africa, not Burkina Faso.
Well, that's another African country, so that is why I'm asking. So you can imagine if Ghana and South Africa did not have that relationship because of such mishap in one country or the other. These are some of the things I may not have ended up, visiting South Africa, like you said. And so I think it's something that we should consider, especially ECOWAS, in imposing sanctions and properly implementing it. But don't worry, your South African gift is still with me. I know why you are talking about it. In the meantime, I'm also, as a country, Ghana, what can we learn from it? Yes, we have not experienced, the acts of terrorism whatsoever. But when you look at Ghana, the verge that we are going on, the proliferation of arms, smuggling of ammunition, amongst other things, these are warning signs. And it seems that we are relaxed. We think that, oh, Ghana, nothing like that is going to happen. As an apostle and as a security analyst, what do you think we can learn as a country from this?
Right now, the truth is, Ghana, we are sitting on a time bomb. We are sitting on a time bomb. If you look at what is happening in this country now, the first thing I would say is that our leaders must learn. You see, we are used to relying on past glory. That is our problem. We are used to relying on past glory. I remember when just this happened, when we started saying, oh, 4 times African champions, that's 40 years ago. We are still saying it. Well, countries which have not even won one cup, today they have about 7 cups, and we are still using that past glory. Oh, we are 4 times African champions. The truth is, there's that notion that we are a peaceful country. No, the truth is, that is when you put all of us together. But we have places that, as we speak now, even though election, we touch some places as to a flashpoint, right? Just for a few days ago, look at what happened to Nima. When the youth crashed, look at what happened. The bloody and the manner the youth came out publicly, broad day, just to, youth machete and other and dance and other. Please, we need to learn, and especially, as I gave an example, look at the way we are mishandling our security. If you look at all the factors involved in some of these things, where you can now escape the military to come out, we are gradually getting there. And I believe our leaders must learn. The economic policies we are introducing, look, as a government, you come in for the people. So the moment you are bringing a policy, and the people tell you, we are not ready for this, you must learn to listen. You must be a listening government. An example is this fee levy. This personally, I don't even see it as a tax. It's a broad-day robbery on the citizenry. Fee levy is not a tax. The citizens keep on shouting, we don't want it. We are not ready to pay this. But the government still insists. We shouldn't push the youth to do some of these things. But like I said, look at the Burkina Faso. They started not even with the military. The civilians rose and they were able to take their president out. Ghana, we need to learn. We should stop relying on past glory and assume that everything look, current as we speak, Baku is on fire. Nima, we have military, police and military there. You understand? Please, my advice to the nation is that our leaders must learn. They need to learn and also be ready and willing to listen to the people. No, you see, Ghana, we've been so lenient with our president, we've been so supportive of them, yet they don't appreciate us. In this pandemic, where people, some countries are even giving, bonuses and some kind of benefits to their citizens. In this country, our president or the government introduced a tax, that's coronavirus tax, and then we are paying. They introduced dollar tax, we are paying for them, and now you are bringing in levies, so we don't want it. I believe that the government must learn from this.
Well, Apostle Kusi-Appiah, thank you very much for your submission this evening. I think that in your role as an apostle, we should also consider praying for the West African sub-region and the African continent as a whole. We're grateful for your time once again.
Thank you very much.
Right. So, Apostle Kusi-Appiah, as his name suggests, an apostle, religious leader, but also a security analyst, and he has spoken extensively. One thing that cuts across is that coup seems to be happening frequently. In 2021 alone, we experienced more than, should I put it, averagely 7 coups in the African continent. And citing the example, this has a direct consequence on inter or intra, if I put the African continent in perspective, intra national unrest, as we may not be able to travel to some of these countries because we may not have representation there. If the ECOWAS decides to make certain decisions, sometimes we tend to look at the ECOWAS alone, but perhaps we should place a look on the African Union. How viable are these unions or economic community when we don't feel the real essence or impulse? In the wake of seeing the ECOWAS as a toothless bulldog, who do we rely on to ensure that coup d'etat become a thing of the past? Some time back, we thought that coups were a thing of the past, but unfortunately, they're still here with us. They're still a thing of the present. And if we don't take care, coup d'etats will be a thing of the future. And so Apostle says that we should stop relying on past glory. Oh, Ghanaians there, we are cool, we are calm, we are hospitable. Sometimes at a point, we realize that our hospitality may be a weakness, that may be a tide, because we've seen some incidents, as Apostle indicated, internal incidents that require serious or rapt security attention. Well, we'll still continue with the conversation. If you have any thoughts on the coup that has emanated in Burkina Faso and concerns